Hi everybody! Welcome back to Bentley House. I'm Ara, and today we're going back into the prompt book. We have already done 2 prompts, and so this will be prompt number 3. And the prompt for today is paper bag. Now usually I sketch a ton of different ideas, but for some reason my brain has been kind of on vacation recently, and the only idea I could really come up with is a paper bag. Like, that's the only thing I could come up with. And so I sketched out a paper bag, and then I sketched out another paper bag laying on its side with some stuff coming out of it. And that was about the reach of my creativity for this prompt to begin with. And sometimes I think when we're trying to be creative, it's okay to just go ahead and do the obvious, create the obvious, and then a lot of times while we're creating, we can come up with another idea along the way. Please remember that you are always welcome to join in these prompts with me, and if you do, I love to include what you have created at the end of my videos. So stay tuned. At the end of this video, you will see the miniatures made by those who participated in prompt number 2, which was clock. So now that I've sketched 2 paper bags, I am going to get out my material, which of course is going to be a paper bag. Now there's different types of paper bags. I have this white lunch bag, and then I also had an Aldi shopping bag. And so you can kind of choose, if you decide to do this, whatever kind of paper bag you want. They also have like decorative ones that are really pretty. And then I found this paper bag template online. I think it's called an owl gift bag template, and so you can search that if you want to, print it out at whatever size you want, and then when I cut it out, I laid it on top of the paper bag to turn the big bag into the small bag. That's the fun thing about miniatures. I can take one real life size paper bag and probably make about 50 small ones. Now this one that I'm using the template for is more like a gift bag, which is what actually gave me my next idea, which you will see a little further into the video. After laying the template down onto the paper bag, I ended up widening the side panels of the bag just slightly, and I just eyed that and moved my template a little bit as I drew so that those could be wider. Now I made the bag out of the white lunch bag and also out of the Aldi bag, and I ended up liking the Aldi bag material better. The lunch bag was very, very thin. It was extremely thin paper, actually thinner than I was expecting it to be, but it is a good material to keep in mind for the future. If I'm looking for something that even feels thinner than computer paper, a lunch bag might be a good idea. So then I'm just going to carefully use glue to fold down the edges and also fold in the bottom of the bags. So I'm going to continue on with the brown bag, and I want to put some holes into the bag to create handles for my gift bag. For this, I'm going to be using a pointy tool, and I'm going to be pushing down through the bag. So I've put down an extra craft mat to protect my gray one that I usually work on top of.
Hello darkness, my old friend.
If you push too hard, you could actually bend your tool, so be careful with that. I poked 4 holes, 2 in both sides, and then I grabbed some embroidery thread so that I could create the handles. To help them go through the holes, I just used my pointed tool to poke them through the holes, and then I made sure both sides went through. Now you can attach these in 2 different ways. You can do the traditional way, which you see on actual life-size gift bags. You can tie knots in the handle and then pull it through, but I wanted it to be a little bit more clear on the inside, and so I ended up just gluing them down on the inside. And if you want to make it look like your handles have a little bit more weight, you can glue them to the outside as well, so it looks like they're hanging down the side of the bag, but I just left mine sticking out. So while I was making the bag, I got another idea. I wanted to make a gift out of the paper bag to go in the bag. Now this is going to be something that doesn't look like it's made out of a paper bag. I'm going to start by cutting a really thin strip of the paper, and I believe it was about a 1/16 inch wide strip, and I cut 2 of these. Then I took both of them and I connected them together with a little bit of glue. My goal is to get a really long, skinny strip of paper. I'm going to start at one end of the paper and begin rolling it up into a very tight spiral. And I thought I was recording the beginning of that spiral, but I wasn't. It is the hardest to get the very beginning of the spiral going, but once you get it going, it gets easier and easier. I'm trying my best to keep it an actual circle and not an oval. And then along the way, every now and then I will tack it in place, because if it does start to unravel, it can get very frustrating. When I get to the end of the spiral, I'm going to glue the end of the paper to the spiral so that it will not come unraveled. So now I should have a little spiraled up disc of paper. Once the end has dried and I know it's not going to come out, I'm going to use my fingernail to begin pushing the inside of the spiral out to make kind of a half sphere. And my fingernail was kind of a little bit too big for this tiny piece, so I went ahead and grabbed the end of a pin and started using that to push this out. And you might have seen in the title card, but this is going to end up being a teacup. Once I have the shape that I like pushed from the spiral, I'm going to use some glue and just gently put it around the outside and the inside. This glue is going to help this spiral now keep its shape, because if you don't do this step, it can move on you. Now I'm taking some wood filler, and I forgot to show the bottle for this, but any wood filler should work, and I'm using it to fill in the sides. Because it's paper, it kind of has a stair-step effect, so I'm using it with my fingers to just smooth out the edge. And once that's dry, I can take a tiny file and just file it down smooth. Now to make the bottom of the cup, I'm going to use a 1/4 inch hole punch. And I think this is the same size as like a regular hole punch, so any hole punch you have should probably work. And I'm just going to stack 3 of them on top of each other, glue them together, and this is going to be the base of my teacup. I'm going to take some tacky glue, glue it on the very bottom of the half sphere, and then add the base. This is where you want to make sure you look at it from all sides and try to get it as even as possible. My cup ends up a little wonky, but that's okay. Now I'm going to make the handle, and for this I'm cutting another really thin strip of paper bag, and I'm adding some glue and folding it over to create a double thickness of the paper. I'm going to let this dry and then figure out where on my cup I want my handle to start. And I'm going to put a dab of glue and then add the long thin piece, and it's going to be pointing up, and it's going to end up kind of looking like a ladle. So if you decide to make a soup ladle, this would possibly be a good way to do it. But I'm going to let that dry completely before I try to bend it into the shape of a handle. Once that's dried, I'm going to bend it over and then kind of figure out where I want it to hit the cup, and then I'm going to use my fingernail to make a mark so that I can cut it off with an X-Acto knife. Then I'm just going to add a dab of glue to the cup wherever the bottom of the handle is going to hit it, and make sure I let that dry. Once I have all the pieces in place, I'm going to take, of course, my favorite wood glue, and this is just the brand I use, but any wood glue should work. And I'm going to take a small brush and I'm going to brush it over the entire surface of the cup. Now you're going to have to do this in parts because it's very hard to hold on to the cup and paint the entire thing with the wood glue. So I did use a combination of my fingers and some pliers, and then I had some waiting time in between. The more patient you are with this process, the better. So here you can see how it is on the cup body, how it's smoothing out the texture. It's not on the handle yet, but once it dries, I can hold the handle or I can hold the cup body and put glue over the handle. So I really liked how this was looking. I like that you could see the paper bag, and it really reminded me of earthenware. So I was really tempted to leave it this way, but I decided to go ahead and show you how easy this is to paint and make an actual ceramic looking cup. So I'm starting with some white paint in a very small brush, and I'm just going to brush it over the body of the cup.
I've come to talk with you again.
If you happen to drop your cup into your paint, just spread it out so that it's evenly across the entire surface. You can do this with whatever color you like. I'm starting out with this kind of white cream, and then I'm going to add some pink, and I'm using a ball stylus to do this. You can do this with a brush if you like, however it's very hard to control the brush bristles, and so that's why I like to do this very small detail work with a stylus. I end up painting the inside of the cup pink and the handle pink, and then I'm using a larger size stylus to create polka dots on the outside. This is also a great way to get uniform polka dots. The hardest part of this whole project is just keeping your fingers out of the wet paint. So I highly suggest making sure you wait on drying times and just be really patient with that if you try this out. So now I'm going to put a clear gloss finish on this. So I'm using my polyacrylic clear gloss, and I'm just going to carefully, a bit at a time, again paint over the surface. And I obviously haven't learned my lesson not to hold my miniature above my medium that I'm using to paint, and I'm really glad I did not drop it into the polyacrylic because I might not have gotten it back. So don't do that. Y'all do better than me. So here's my final product of this prompt. I made a paper bag out of a paper bag, and then I made something that doesn't look like it was made out of a paper bag, and I thought it could be a little gift that goes inside of a gift bag. So if you guys want to join in with me, my challenge to you for this prompt is to use a paper bag, to make a paper bag, and then something to go in it that doesn't look like it's made out of paper bags. So I hope you guys would take up this challenge. If you think of something else you want to make and it's not anything close to what I just said, please do it. Be creative. This is just what I came up with, but as you'll see in a few minutes when I show you the amazing miniatures made for prompt 2, which was clock, you guys have an amazing imagination, and so I know whatever you come up with will be fantastic. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little tutorial. I really enjoyed making this little cup. It was really fun, and I'm kind of intrigued by making the little bag. Like, that would be a fun giveaway thing, little miniature bags with surprises in it. Thank you guys for those of you who participated in prompt 2, and I'm going to show those amazing miniatures now. Remember that it was clock. And I have this cuckoo clock made by Charlotte's Miniatures. It is so incredibly detailed. It blows my mind. This witch hat clock, which was made by Nira's Artistry. And I just love the wrinkles. I love the belt. I mean, is that what you call it on a hat, a belt? It's just amazing. This hot chocolate clock was made by Dr. Hopeless, and you can also see his project, and I just love the hot chocolate foam cream on top. This mouse's cozy clock was made by June Gallagher, and you can see it hanging above this little mouse bed, and it is just so cool. And then this Nixion Tube clock made by Lara Crutchin, and I didn't even know what this was, but it actually lights up, and it's a really cool piece for her project. Thank you for participating. If you want to participate in prompt 3, which as you saw is paper bag, please make sure to tag me on Instagram at Bentley House Minis, or send photos to my Facebook page, Bentley House Minis. If you do those, I'll be sure to see it. If you don't, I may not be able to see what you made, so make sure you tag me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!